Welcome back, everybody, to Watcher of All Things. My name is Kiki, and this is my podcast where I talk movies, TV shows, and all things entertainment. And today, it is a big deal, everyone, because it is episode 100, and it's not just a big deal because it's our 100th episode. It's a big deal because we are talking about one of my most anticipated films of the year, Marty Supreme, of course, the talk of the town. Everybody's talking about it. It's a huge deal after this huge promotional campaign that we are no doubt going to talk about a lot. We're not just going to talk about the movie as an actual film by itself. We're going to talk about sort of the cultural moment that we are having right now with Marty Supreme, which I am very excited about. But first, happy holidays, everyone. It is officially past Christmas. We are approaching 2026. I had a fantastic holiday weekend at my brother and sister-in-law's, and so much food, so much chill time. We watched tons of movies, played pool and games and stuff like that, and it was a great time. I'm relaxed, I'm rested, I'm ready for the rest of the holidays with New Year's Eve coming. But today we have important matters to attend to, such as Marty Supreme. So of course, timestamps below. We will have the news section, the non-spoiler section, and then the spoiler section, of course, followed by what else I watched, where I'm going to tell you about the other stuff that I was watching. Also, I just want to plug my new YouTube video, my 2025 winners and losers of movies and TVs. It was a lot of fun, just a little video I threw together. Well, little video, it's 30 minutes long. I need to learn how to make more concise or shorter YouTube videos, and maybe that'll mean I get to make more YouTube videos, but a very fun one. Go check it out. It's live on my YouTube channel right now. But as for right now, it's a late Sunday night. This episode might be coming out a little late. I am exhausted after travel and festivities and all that stuff, but I am excited. I'm ready to talk about Marty Supreme. But first, let's jump into the news. All right, our first piece of news comes from James Cameron, who has kind of addressed generative AI. And of course, we're going to talk about AI because the sky is still blue, the Pope is still Catholic, duck's ass is still watertight. Me talking about AI, what else do you expect? But James Cameron was talking about the speed at which he can make the Avatar movies and whether generative AI could play a role in that. So the full quote I'm going to read to you. James Cameron says he may explore new ethical generative AI tech to make Avatar films faster, but he will never replace actors and artists. Quote, I don't want to spend another 8 years or 2 more Avatar films in my life at the age of 71. So I want to figure out how to do them faster, which will make it cheaper. Now, does generative AI play a role in that? It may. As long as we stay within the ethical boundaries of never replacing the actors, never replacing the artists, never replacing me as a director or the writers. That's a bit of a tall order right now because the generative AI tools are not really designed to integrate into the conventional VFX workflows. We would have to create them. The big companies that are pushing all this stuff are just interested in business-to-business models, medical diagnosis, fun stuff to do that you can share with your pals, things like that. They're not professional tools for entertainment. We would have to create that. So once again, look, and I guess, I don't know, did people have an issue with CGI when it came out? I doubt it. It was probably a lot less of a hubbub because people were making interesting things with computers instead of, doing practical effects or models or makeup or whatever. I'm sure there were people that were pushing back. I don't know, but this is a big deal because I hate generative AI, as I've said many times on this show, but I do see the point that he's making. He is saying right now, there's no way it can fit into the workflow because it's just replacing people or it looks terrible or whatever it might be. It just simply does not work within the entertainment, visual effects artists workflow or system that we have in place right now. But could it someday be used in a way that it's just taking away little steps to expedite the process or the super, super, super meticulous moments and still have an artist behind it? I don't know. Will we ever get there? I'm not sure. We have had, generative AI, or not generative AI, but we've had AI tools within the film space, whether it's in Dune to help track the eyes of the Fremen. I believe they used some type of AI tool that helped them track the eyes so they could paint them blue for the visual effects and stuff like that. Better Man, I'm pretty sure that used AI in some of work capacity or workflow type situation. The Brutalist, which we just talked about last week, I believe, or even I just talked about in my YouTube video, how anything that uses AI now is just labeled as something that used AI and it's not seen as anything else, or it always has this kind of tainted label to it. And that's what, I don't know, that's what films are just going to be now. It's if they're using AI, people immediately push back on it, and we are in this AI bubble right now where everyone is pushing and pushing and pushing, and it's like, oh, everything is growing so fast, technology is growing so fast. No, it's just a bubble that everyone is currently investing in this very flawed and very early early stage technology that we don't know, first of all, how bad it is for our environment. Second of all, how many jobs it's going to take away. And when the bubble bursts and, we have food lines, we have people out of jobs, unemployment rates shoot up because so many people have been replaced by AI, and we suddenly lose valuable skills in our society because everyone always turns to ChatGPT or Sora or whatever the bullshit is, I don't even know, to manufacture things or to get false information from very inaccurate AI databases. Or, I saw this weird post on Twitter that some construction workers now are like using AI to make fake photos of work that's done to keep clients happy. I don't know. Maybe that's just a kooky thing I saw online. But look, as for generative AI within the arts, especially within the Avatar context, Avatar, 3 films we've gotten so far have taken forever to make. It's been so long. Like Jack Champion, who plays Spider, who we talked about last week, he literally had to recreate a performance from a decade earlier because they had been filming for so long. And is there a way that AI could possibly expedite the world building or the world creation, visual effects artist tool? I don't know, in some capacity. The problem is, and the difficulty in talking about this kind of stuff is, it's just not defined right now. We don't know what it is, and it's impossible to sort of imagine, or what are the valuable things, or what are the little annoying things that AI could take off of our plate, or that we could automate in the process. It's like, I don't know, manufacturing cars and how robots are building the cars under human supervision, or whatever it might be, or the whole factory process of, artificial intelligence or machinery that's programmed to do things. Could we see that within the entertainment industry? I don't know. It's just very difficult to say right now what direction really we're going in, but these are the important questions that we do need to address in the film and television and commercial industries, or entertainment and art industries. Is how does AI potentially play a part in all of this, or how do we completely cut it off and we don't use it in any generative fashion, and we don't use it as part of the entire process? Because there's, directors like Guillermo del Toro, who is very publicly saying fuck AI, and then there's James Cameron, another director, who's kind of approaching it from a more inquisitive angle and saying, well, now how could we make this work? How could we actually invent the tech to make it work? And I think, it's a valuable question to ask. Fair enough. I'm very just like immediately brushing off any mention of AI, or I just hate AI so much in general. But these kind of questions, we can't just keep kicking it down the road. So maybe it's something I do need to think about a little bit more. But let's talk about 007 First Light, our next piece of news. This came actually a couple of weeks ago and I forgot to talk about it, but I want to talk about it. 007 First Light has been delayed to May 27th, 2026 instead of March, I believe. So the interactive team posted, today we are sharing an update regarding 007 First Light as we have decided to move the game's release by 2 months to the 27th of May. 007 is our most ambitious project to date, and the team has been fully focused on delivering an unforgettable James Bond experience, bringing together breathtaking action, globetrotting, spycraft, gadgets, car chases, and more. As an independent developer and publisher, this decision allows us to ensure the experience meets the level of quality you players deserve on day one. I think this is okay. It's 2 months. This is a game that people were looking forward to forever. I remember when they first announced that Interactive was actually developing a James Bond game, because it's been forever since we have actually had a James Bond game. We've had, the Quantum of Solace tie-in. We've had 007. What was the Fire one? There's been a bunch of them. I mean, I grew up playing GoldenEye, The World's Not Enough, and there was one other on Nintendo 64 that we played, and then there was like other various versions for PlayStation 2 or Xbox or GameCube or whatever it might have been. But there's been tons of Bond games, but it's been far too long that this franchise hasn't had video games. And recently, what was I watching? Maybe one of Cinema Joe's videos where he was talking about the death of the movie tie-in video game, and we used to get it all the time. Every movie would have a tie-in video game because the developers would have the film like a year in advance or have ideas with the scripts and stuff like that. But we don't get that anymore. I had Batman Begins. We had, of course, the James Bond games I just spoke about. We had Spider-Man games, and it's just crazy that we don't live in that world anymore where we don't get the video game tie-ins, because I do truly miss it. That was a very fun time when you could see the movie and then you'd be like, oh my God, I love that so much. And then the video game would like either take you through the entire story completely, or it would expand on all of it and like add little missions here or there, or, either way, it was fun. I've watched all of Mr. Sunday Movie's Caravan of Garbage video game tie-ins, and they're always hilarious, but we never get that anymore. And it's, content that we're missing out on. But I think 2 months is not that bad. I will be playing it from day one. I'm so excited for 007 First Light. The trailer blew me away. Looks amazing. Has all the great Hitman type schematics, or whatever you want to call it, game mechanics, and it just looks like it's going to be a really, really good game. But let's move on to our next story. Once again, talking about Avatar. Avatar Fire and Ash has officially crossed 750 million worldwide. It's already outperforming The Way of Water's legs, and it's now expected to cross 1 billion before its third weekend. Imagine, like I said in my Instagram story or wherever I posted that video a couple weeks ago after I saw Fire and Ash, I said, imagine doubting James Cameron that these movies are not going to be huge. It's impossible for people to ignore Avatar. It's just such a cultural staple. It's such there is a huge like cultural attachment to the Avatar films because so many people have grown up with them, or they, like me, they were 9 years old when they first saw Avatar in IMAX 3D or in 3D, and it was a huge cultural moment for the world. The first and second one made 2 billion. This one's already crossed 1 billion. James Cameron is now the first director to have his last 4 movies cross $1 billion, and that's absolutely crazy. Like, that is so much money. You guys realize, like, Marvel movies, they haven't hit $1 billion since Deadpool and Wolverine, and they've had so many that like barely crack 500 million or go under 750 million, stuff like that. But Avatar, the third one, only 3 years after the second one, cracks $1 billion in its third weekend. Like, it is actually crazy how quick this movie is making money, and it has really good legs. I think people are going for second viewings because it's still having the longer IMAX, screen availability, I guess you could say, or it has a really good run in the IMAX 3D, and the availability is really there for it to make money, whereas, other movies this year did not have that. I think F1 had like a kind of shorter IMAX window. Superman had a very short IMAX window. Fantastic Four, there's been movies throughout the rest of the year that have kind of undercut each other because they're taking over each other's IMAX screening period times. Mission Impossible, whatever it might have been. The last 2 Mission Impossible movies have both been kicked out of IMAX kind of prematurely, I want to say. And whether, Oppenheimer did that last time or Oppenheimer Barbie sort of knocked down Mission Impossible, it happens all the time. A really good movie comes out, or a big movie that could have a really good financial run, but then we kick it out of a certain screening format too quickly and it doesn't make its money back because nobody wants to see it in standard. They wanted to see it in the special format. So I'm pumped for Avatar Fire and Ash. I mean, I'm just waiting on the Avatar 4 green light at this point. I know it's going to happen. There's no doubt that James Cameron, he's going to go make another movie and then he's going to come back, make Avatar 4 right away. We'll get it in 2031. But let's talk about our final story of the day. Stephen Graham has reportedly been offered the role of young Neil in Heat 2. I did not see this coming, and I think it's a little confusing to me because he looks the same age as Robert De Niro did when he was in Heat. Like, I don't get how he's a young Neil. I think Stephen Graham, I think he's a fine actor. He was in the Bruce Springsteen film this year. I didn't think he was very good in that. I thought he was pretty good in Adolescence, like just a really, really moving performance. Other than that, everything I've seen him in, I don't know, he's fine. He's kind of the typical British dramatic actor to me. I think a lot of people hold him in very high regard. I can see that. I think I would want to watch more of his stuff, or he has a chef program that he was in that's apparently amazing. That might be on the watch list for 2026. But the cast for Heat 2 is so confusing to me. It's like Austin Butler, or it's not Austin Butler, it's Christian Bale. Now we have Stephen Graham. Now we have Adam Driver. We have Bradley Cooper. It's like, who is in this movie? And I haven't read the book because I don't want spoilers for the movie, because I'm much more of a movie before book versus, book before movie. Like, I haven't read Project Hail Mary despite hearing amazing things every single week about the book, and how, the movie, it's going to be tough to live up to the expectations because the book is so good. But I don't know, Heat 2, I have pretty low expectations because I've heard weird things about the book that it's not that great. So I'll just keep loving Heat 1. But Stephen Graham, very odd choice for Robert De Niro's character, Neil. I can't see it. He can do an okay American accent, but I just don't see it. I feel like there were so many other interesting young and younger looking actors that really could have shaped the role, but we'll have to wait and see. I trust Michael Mann. But as for the matter at hand, we're about to talk about Marty Supreme. Remember, this will be the non-spoiler section. I will just keep it to general themes, kind of what the major mechanics are of the story, what I liked, what I didn't like. We're going to talk about the cultural moment that we're having. Then we will get into spoilers, where there is so much to pick apart. There's actually a lot to really argue about because I think this movie is incredibly complex. But guys, episode 100, Marty Supreme, non-spoilers. Let's do it. I'm very excited to talk Marty Supreme. Marty Supreme is a 2025 sports drama film coming in at 2 hours, 29 minutes. It is directed by Josh Safdie, formerly of the Safdie brothers directing duo, I guess you could say. They did two films together before. They did a few films together before, but the two major ones, Uncut Gems, Good Time. We are, of course, going to talk about those a lot today because you can see the DNA of those films here. They, of course, split up as a directing duo, and they're doing their own things. Benny had The Smashing Machine a little bit earlier in the fall, and now this is Josh's first directing gig as a solo director. It is also written by Josh Safdie and Ronald Braunstein, who is husband of Mary Braunstein, who directed one of my very favorite movies of the year, If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. A crazy creative power couple, and you can definitely see Ronnie's imprint on that movie as well. I saw a funny Letterboxd list that was like, what's going on with the Braunstein ceiling, and it was just If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You and this movie because of a certain scene that happens in this movie, but very, very funny. The budget for Marty Supreme, $70 million. I think it's one of the most expensive A24 films ever. That being said, it had the best 4-day opening for an A24 film. It had amazing pre-sales, like it was easily the best pre-sale. It's made $28.3 million already in the 4-day holiday weekend, and it's gonna, I think it could have pretty decent legs going into January. There's gonna be a lot of award shows now with the Critics' Choice Awards. Then we have the Golden Globes very soon. So I think it could make a decent chunk of change here, and there's so many like people that I see online posting, oh, I took my family to see this, blah, 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 and they loved it, or they didn't like it, but they still wanted to go see it in the first place. And that's really important for a movie to make its money back. But reviews, largely very positive. 8.3 on IMDb, 95% on Rotten Tomatoes with an 83% audience score, 4.3 on Letterboxd with a 5-star mode. Yes, you heard me right, 5-star mode. The synopsis for Marty Supreme. In 1950s New York, Marty Mauser, a young man with a dream no one respects, goes to hell and back in pursuit of greatness. The film stars, of course, the white boy of the year, Timothee Chalamet as Marty Mauser, Odessa Azion as Rachel Misler, Gwyneth Paltrow as Kay Stone, Kevin O'Leary as Milton Rockwell, Abel Ferrara as Ezra Mishkin, Tyler the Creator as Wally, Fran Drescher as Rebecca Mauser, Emery Cohen as Ira Misler, Koto Kawaguchi as Koto Endo, and Geza Rohrig as Bella Kleitze. There's also some crazy cameos in here from like Penn Jillette of Penn and Teller. There's the YouTube, there's a viral video many years ago of this unfortunately homeless man that was begging for money, but he had the like world's best radio voice. I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about. He's in this film, and it's really cool that he's in here. There's also Fred Hetchinger shows up at one point, David Mamet, Sandra Bernard, Larry Sloman, George Gervin, Ethan Hawke's son, Levon Hawke is in this. It's a giant cast. I mean, I was pretty blown away by like, oh, I know that person. Oh, I know that person. But let's talk about Marty Supreme. My initial thoughts. This was a wild ride that really took me to some places I hadn't expected. Like, I'm a huge fan of Good Time and Uncut Gems, like I said. I saw it a few days ago, and I've had so much time to think about it, and yet I need to see it again because I have so many thoughts about this movie. We're going to talk about Honora a little bit today, but this movie was really good. I loved Marty Supreme. I actually had so much fun with it. It's intense, it's dark, it's hilarious, it is thrilling. It was a great time. Let's talk about my theater reaction and experience, though. I saw this on Christmas Eve at 2:45 p.m. It was probably a third full, but that's because I think people didn't know that it was actually out on Christmas Eve because everyone's been saying Marty Supreme Christmas Day. There was a few young people. There was also an older couple in front of me. I was like, oh, wow. People were talking, which was really annoying. Like during the big third act climax, the old couple in front of me having a full-blown conversation, full volume. I just leaned forward. Can you guys please stop talking? They were like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Anyways, okay, enough complaining about people in the theater. I also had to step out and pee during one scene because I literally couldn't hold it anymore. It is a 2-hour, 30-minute movie, and look, I'm no stranger to long movies, and I'm actually very good at holding my bladder in movie theaters. I've only peed once during a movie in like the last 4 years. I think the last time was The Iron Claw, so 3 years, 2 years, whatever it was, but that's the last time I peed during a movie. Since then, I've been absolutely electric, lightning, steel bladder, but I really had to pee, so I missed one like semi-scene, but I know what happened in the scene, so it wasn't a big deal. But look, I really want another viewing for the film because there's just so much to pick apart, and the online discourse has been really fun for this. Let's talk about the performances. To start, of course, Timothee Chalamet as Marty Mauser, or Marty Supreme as some people want to call him. Career-defining performance, no doubt. Like, it's a crazy absolutely electric, life-altering, career-defining performance is basically the simplest way I can put it. He is manipulative, he's fierce, he's crazy, and he's so funny. He's actually very funny in this movie. I was constantly laughing at what he's doing or how he's reacting, his body shape, or just how he interacts with people. He's such a hustler, and he has such a concrete mindset that is just so hyper-focused on a goal that it's really, really unbelievable, and it takes so much, intensity and dedication, and you can tell how much he is putting into this performance. Then we have Odessa Zion as Rachel, who is his girlfriend in the film. I thought she was excellent, maybe the biggest surprise for me. I haven't seen her in anything else, but she brings a really kind of sad humanity and desperation to the story that I think is really needed, and we don't really get that in Good Time, and we don't get it in Uncut Gems either. I think Rachel plays a really important role in this film as being kind of the emotional anchor for our hero to come back to in a little bit of a way, but also Gwyneth Paltrow as Kay Stone. I like how mean she is to Marty. It's absolutely hilarious. Some of their scenes that she's just like straight up bullying him and making fun of him, and then he's like brushing it off and being like, actually no, I'm gonna be amazing and you're gonna see. And then she's almost blown away by his, determination or whatever it is, but she's really good. Same with Kevin O'Leary as Milton Rockwell. I absolutely hate the dude, but he's amazing in this. Like, truly astonishing, and I thought he played the part perfectly. Same with Abel Ferrara as Ezra. I thought he was terrifying. I loved him. Fantastic. And Tyler, the Creator. How is this man not an actor? Because he is fantastic in this movie. He is seamless. You could not tell that he's not an actor, as well as so much of the supporting cast. I mean, both of the Safdie brothers love to cast random guys or like random internet people or, random people that they just find interesting in the entertainment industry or real New Yorkers or whatever it might be. And that's no different in this film. I think there's a lot of first-time performers or like newer actors, and then there's people that are not actors. And it brings such a realism to the cast that I really loved. Now, as for the story of Marty Supreme, this is a movie about dreaming so hard that you ignore your entire life. And it's also a story about dreaming under capitalism and how dreams cost money, and there's real consequences to spending and dreaming in our very competitive and almost infectious exploitative world. This is a film that's about ambition and competitiveness and young stupidity especially. This is a very stupid young person story, and it's a classic stealing from Peter to pay Paul story that we've come to expect from the Safdie family. The Safdie brothers, they gave us Robert Pattinson's character in Good Time, who is doing the exact same thing. We have Howie in Uncut Gems doing the exact same thing. It's all about stealing from other places to pay off one debt and then planning how am I going to pay off the other debt. That is really what these movies are about, and I love that through line that we have the unofficial Trash Guy trilogy. And this is kind of not a complete sports movie. I think people are going to be surprised how little of importance, how much actual ping pong is played in this movie. There's a lot more of the how he can get to the ping pong tables instead of fully being at the ping pong table for the whole 2 hour 30 minutes. It's more like he needs to get money so he can play ping pong, so he can practice, so he can train, because he is a good athlete. People acknowledge in this film that Marty is a very good player, and he's known as like the chosen one or the great one or whatever it's called. And there's a lot of other stuff happening in this movie outside of the ping pong. But Josh Safdie as a director, I think that's important to talk about as well, given that it is his first film away from Benny. He's doing his own thing now. They're both doing their own thing. I don't think they're going to reunite because they're still, young directors, relatively young, I would say. And I thought Josh Safdie really interesting, and he did really wonderfully here. He brings so much kind of attitude and energy and grind to this, and it's much more frantic, in your face. Again, it's a stealing from Peter to pay Paul story, so there's a lot of guilt and like the walls closing in and people hustling you or pushing you and stuff like that, versus The Smashing Machine, completely different movie, very different tone, very different kind of performances, very different story, albeit still a sports story based on a real guy. But to me, it feels like Josh Safdie is the more sort of stylistic visionary of the brothers, who likes to leave things a little more ambiguous. He likes to hustle, and he likes to bring atmosphere and sort of more, I don't even know what to call it. All I can say is atmospheric. There's a lot of, especially with the soundtrack, which we'll talk about in a little bit, there's a lot of real dreaminess to this, or sort of pushing yourself in a much more orchestral way, versus I really love kind of the jazz score of The Smashing Machine, but it's much more a punch in the face type movie, versus this is a lot more running around, running a marathon, or almost a sprint the entire film, I guess you could say. But one thing people should keep in mind is kind of the pacing of Safdie brothers projects, letting you sit in these calm moments that sometimes, I guess to the untrained person, can feel like they're dragging. I've seen some people complain about the second second act of the film, I do have some, and not really some issues with it. I don't know, maybe on a second watch, because I know the ending, everything's going to make a lot more sense, or it's going to be a lot more smooth, and it's like, okay, that's why we were there. That's why we're there. Where sometimes in the moment, you do wonder, where is this going? I had that with Good Time when he's sitting in her house and like trying to get the phone or whatever it might be, or just waiting for his brother to go to the hospital, stuff like that. In Uncut Gems, there's plenty of scenes where you're like, Howie, what are we doing here, man? What are we trying to do? And then in this film as well, there's that same thing, but it's one of those projects that coming back to it, you can see the journey a little bit more, how things developed, or, oh, that's a little seed planted for that scene later. That's a little seed that's not going to pay off, but it's not paying off for a reason. We are not going to see this thing for a reason because its absence is just as important as it actually showing up again. And I get why it's not for some people. Some people like when everything is just like super quick pace. It's all very streamlined. That's the short attention span world we're kind of in right now. But Marty Supreme is an extremely exhilarating movie. There's so much crazy stuff happening in this, but there are moments where it feels like we're a little bit more explorative of the space, and we're kind of just listening to people debate each other, yell at each other, argue, or talk about these very deep things and crazy things that are happening. And you're like, hey, what does this conversation have to do with anything? And those are the conversations that you analyze after the film. There's a scene involving honey in this movie. I'm not giving any spoilers, that everyone has really been debating online of like, what does this scene mean? And even I haven't had a clear thought on it. I think I have an idea, but I have been also reading other people's interpretations, and I'm like, oh, I like that. A lot of people also are struggling with watching movies about people that suck, you know? Robert Pattinson's character, he sucked. Howie in Uncut Gems, he sucked. Marty Mauser, he kind of sucks. All three of them are exploitative, they're selfish, they're all driven by their own individual goals or ambitions or this weird narcissism that they have, and people don't like that. I think actually, weirdly enough, every Monday I post a Pluribus review for the week's episode on my social media, and so many complaints have been that Carol is unlikable and people don't like watching the show because Carol is so whiny or so rude or mean or depressing. And people have a tough time watching films or television or just art in general, rooting for someone that they don't like, or they're rooting for someone in a very backhanded way. Like, it's like, oh, I need this person to succeed because they're technically our hero, but they're more of an anti-hero because everything they do is bad, but you want the story to keep going. And it's a sort of a mental exercise, I guess you could say, because I don't like Robert Pattinson's character in Good Time. I don't like Howie in Uncut Gems. I don't really like Marty Mauser a lot of the time. He's kind of an asshole, and yes, he's a great table tennis player, but he's terrible to everyone around him. And all three of these characters are very, I don't know, just complicated people that it's like, well, they're the hero of our story, so at the end of the day, I want them to achieve their goal because it pushes our story forward, and that's what we're trying to do, and sort of we're with our hero that their goal is our goal, I guess you could say. I think it's just a very complex thing for our day and age that people aren't used to, I guess you could say, of living in these kind of gray zones of the complicated things we do in the blindness of ambition. And so many people give Marty a chance in this film. I think that's what's really important. It's not like Marty is tied up with zero hopes in his life and, oh, he's living a terrible life and all this stuff. No, like when we meet him, he's a shoe salesman and, you know, he's pretty successful. He's doing fine. And there's so much room for growth in a traditional lifestyle. But you know what? He has his one goal. He has his one ambition. And that's what he's chasing after. He's dreaming big and he doesn't want anyone or anything, whether you're a friend or a foe, whether you're with him or against him, he does not care. He has his solo goal in mind and there's nothing that's going to get in his way in getting to that goal. Now, the movie is incredibly funny. I think that's not surprising because Timothee Chalamet, very funny guy. A lot of what the Safdie brothers have both done, very funny. But this movie is also just dark humor. Like there were multiple jokes within my audience that people actually sort of gasped at or like, oof. Even myself, I had an audible reaction. But I think the dark humor actually feeds into Marty's ego. And I mean, I'm not someone that's like, oh my God, why are these racist characters saying racist things? That's racist. It's like, no, they're racist characters. What they say is racist. Or why is this, you know, egotistical guy making dark jokes when it's not acceptable to us in real life? Like I would never say these things, but a character in a film, I'm not that type of person. You know what I mean? But the movie's incredibly dark and some of the stuff Marty Marty particularly says is incredibly dark, and I think it kind of goes as well with what the world that we're in is. We are in post-World War II, New York City. Marty is Jewish. Japan is very heavily involved in this story as well, and the sort of post-war trauma that a lot of people are going for. The Holocaust actually plays a very, very important role in this film, as well as the Jewish diaspora. How did Jews after World War II sort of see themselves within the United States, as well as the U.S. business relations and sort of growing on from World War II and all that stuff? It's very interesting how Josh Safdie and Mr. Bronstein are weaving in this very peculiar and strange sort of context of World War II into a ping pong film. You know, everyone thought this is going to be a very egotistical, goal-driven ping pong movie maybe, and the trailers don't really hint at a lot of this stuff that we really get and has been some of the most interesting stuff to talk about. And also, in some ways, Marty's Jewish identity is very, very important to this film, because there's certain groups, and I saw a really, really good tweet and multiple people commenting on this, and I noticed it a little bit during the film and how Marty is using his Jewish identity, that in certain crowds, he can sort of pass himself off as just another white character or an average New York white boy, and then Tyler, the creator's character, is the man of color, and especially, you know, it's 50s. Obviously, people are extremely racist, and black people are still the minority, but then there's other scenes where Marty is almost labeling himself as a bit more of a minority and as a Jewish man in New York at that time, and how, he was a victim and like the Holocaust couldn't stop him and stuff like this, even though he wasn't really part of that, of course, because he lives in New York City. So it's just very interesting how Marty is almost code switching or is a little bit identity shape shifting in a lot of scenes, and it plays an important role in this film. The post-war context, how people treat Jewish people, how the fathers of veterans treat Jewish people or the Japanese or whatever it might be, is incredibly important to this film, and I was not expecting it, but it was actually a very interesting surprise for me as a former history student, someone that loves history. But there's so many other things in this sort of booming post-war era, like sport for profit versus skill and beauty, how ping pong is played in Asia and table tennis is like this sort of beautiful hobby that has flourished there because people aren't exploiting it for advertisement or commercialization or whatever you want to call it. Sort of what we're seeing with soccer right now. Actually, as a soccer fan, I'll just talk about this, how soccer is sort of being turned into American football or the NBA or whatever, with the heavy commercialization and advertising and sports betting. All this stuff is just completely blowing up. Whereas before, it was a little bit less and more of just like a elegant European sport, I guess you could say. There's a little bit of a hint of that in this film, which is really, really fascinating. There's just so many thematic things that are really working here, and I feel like I'm already running out of time in the non-spoiler section, but there's so much to really chew on here, like ambition just being so blinding. I mean, how many stories do we see ambition or like a dream or getting lost in a dream where you put the blinders on? Honora, last year, she's tied up in this Cinderella story. She's not able to see all of the signs that are in front of her. I think this is a very different film from Honora, but there were many moments in this film where I thought of Honora, that we're going on this crazy goose chase, and my impressions from the trailers are very different from the film that we got at the end of the day. And at first I sat with Marty Supreme and I was like, did that live up to this? And I'm sort of sitting there and I'm like, am I let down by this? I don't think so. I really liked it, but the more I've thought about it over the days and sort of sat on the story, the more I've liked it. And I had that with Honora last year. I rated it 4 stars the first time I saw it. The next 2 times I saw it, rated it 4.5 because I absolutely loved it. And in fact, I got more emotionally attached to the story the more times I watch it. And I've kind of had that with Marty Supreme, just thinking about it over the last 4 or 5 days or whatever it is. I've listened to the score multiple times, which is absolutely sensational. Like, oh my dear God, the soundtrack from Daniel Lopatin, I believe is how you say his name, is exceptional. Super similar to Good Time and Uncut Gems with like synth sounds and weird techno and different instruments. And I love it so much. It plays such an integral part in the pacing of this project. There's so much amazing stuff here that made me think of Honora. And I think this movie is my Honora of 2025, where I watched it the first time. I'm like, I don't know. I think I really liked it, but did I love it? And then I rewatch it and I'm like, holy shit. Yes, I absolutely love this movie. And Marty Supreme was an absolute box office smash for me. I really, really enjoyed it. And the character of Marty himself and his opponent in the film, who's named Endo, he's a Japanese player. Just, I've been thinking about the comparison between the two players. You know, Marty being this exceptionally arrogant, cocky, outspoken, in-your-face guy who doesn't want to go home to a normal life. He wants to be a ping pong table tennis superstar, versus Endo. Japan has only recently been allowed to play. You know, his opponent is a deaf, silent, humble craftsman who, when he goes back home, he's a great player, but when he goes back home, he just goes to his normal day job. Marty is not like that. Complete opposite of Marty. I think there's some fantastic writing here from Ronald Bronstein and Josh Safdie. So much great stuff, especially the ending. The ending has been so divisive online. At first, I was like, I don't know. And in spoilers, I'm going to talk about it a lot more. But look, let's rank the Safdie Dumb Idiot trilogy. We have Uncut Gems, Good Time, Marty Supreme. I think for now, I'm going to go Marty Supreme in third place. It was so solid, action-packed, amazing characters, and just such a great character arc to witness, and so many amazing story beats. In second, I'm going to go Good Time. I absolutely love Good Time. Like, fantastic movie. Ooh, I don't know. Actually, is it first? I don't know. It's such a freaky, weird movie. And then Uncut Gems might be in first, although I think I have a Good Time rated higher than Uncut Gems on Letterboxd, but I would give both of those two probably 5 stars, to be honest. I think they're absolutely exceptional. And Marty Supreme, come Oscar time, I think we're going to hear this movie a lot, or come the award season in general. Critics' Choice Awards, of course, we're going to hear about it. Golden Globes, we're going to hear about it. It's nominated, all of this stuff. Timmy, I think he's going to have a very, very good award season. I think it's going to be a tough battle with Leonardo DiCaprio for one battle after another, but I could see him getting the win because this is a truly magnetic, electric, career-defining performance, and it's not just what we're seeing on screen. I think that makes this movie so good. What this movie has done kind of for auteur or like artist-driven films instead of these huge franchise IPs by building this PR run on the back of Timothee Chalamet, marketing him as a star, letting him do all these crazy things that honestly he has a huge hand in how they've been marketing, and he's pushing for all these ideas and just letting him do whatever and being a fun, 30-year-old star that everybody loves versus, just doing nostalgia bait and all these stupid big franchise stuff and just doing the traditional hot ones or whatever. The only really traditional stuff he's done is like The Tonight Show, but then he has been doing random ass podcasts, sports shows. Then he's doing all these his own videos and like the Zoom call that he did. I talked about this all in my YouTube video this month, that I just think Timothee Chalamet is in such an interesting cultural moment, and this movie is coming at the end of a really great press run. So let's get into my 2 stars and a wish, then we're going to talk spoilers. Star number 1, Timothee Chalamet giving his career-defining performance, as I've said multiple times. I couldn't believe what he was doing in this movie. He's just so good. He's solid. He's so driven the whole time, and it's so hard not to conflate his own personality and Marty Mauser, but at the same time, you watch sort of a couple interviews with him from a few years ago, and he's so different, and I think he took a lot of Marty Mauser after Marty Supreme and hasn't fully let go of it yet to be his kind of past self a little bit more. So it's been really interesting. Star number 2, so much to dissect and chew on after you watch this movie. There's going to be a lot of people that walk out of this and immediately want to dismiss it and say, oh, I didn't get that. But trust me, the more you just sit and think, what could that scene actually mean, the more you will enjoy and love this movie, just like I have. My only wish, I think the second act sometimes is, or at least it felt like in my first viewing, it's kind of losing the intensity at times, or it's trying to form these little vignettes that I don't know if they're all really flowing well into each other. But for the most part, look, overall, this absolutely rocked me. I really enjoyed Marty Supreme. I'm already going to a second screening on New Year's Day in 70mm. I'm so excited to see it again. I didn't think I really knew what to expect with this film because I had ignored a lot of the trailers, or I would watch them once and then be like, I'm not going to watch another trailer. I'm just going to see the promotional stuff from Timothée Chalamet himself, but I'm not watching the trailers. And that kind of led me in a little bit more blind than I thought, and they actually hit a lot in the trailers. So as a cultural moment, this really delivered for me. I am giving Marty Supreme a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. Cannot wait to watch it again. Let's talk about some spoilers. All right, spoilers for Marty Supreme. I just had a nice little chocolate break, so I have some more energy because it is the holidays. I had to go eat some chocolate. That's a mandatory rule. Every hour you have to eat something sweet. But let's talk about Marty Supreme again. So people do genuinely believe in Marty. I think that's an important thing to remember in this film versus Good Time and Uncut Gems. The sort of heroes, or not the heroes, but the guys that we are following along in the story in those two films, no one believes in them. No one actually gives them any confidence. No one can see the talent they have because they don't have talent. They are two kind of hopeless hustlers that are ripping everyone off, versus Marty is a talented guy that is labeled the chosen one in the paper, or his friend Dion, I believe, and his dad believe in him, or his sponsors or whatever, and make him the orange balls in the end of the story, because Dion and Marty go to his dad, say, as it shows in the trailer, look at the white ball, it's hard to fall on the white paper, make an orange ball, and it's a special ball for a special guy, the Marty Supreme orange ball, whatever it is. And the orange ball played such such an important role in the promotional campaign for this film. And yet in the film, the orange ball is barely there. Instead, the absence of the orange ball is actually integral to the story, because when we're introduced to the orange ball, it is, the reason that Marty is not winning these matches is because the white ball, hard to follow. In tennis, they wear white shirts. It could be so much classier if we could wear white shirts and it's not so distracting. And the white ball or whatever would be much harder to follow against the white shirt. So if we had orange balls, we could wear white. He sees it as an excuse because some people wear white or lighter colors. So he wants to use the orange balls because it'll help him. And in the end, the big third act showdown between him and Endo in a game that actually doesn't matter, he's using a white ball, he's wearing a white shirt, and Endo is also wearing a white shirt, so it does not matter. At the end of the day, he wins in a game that doesn't really mean anything. Endo does not think about Marty at the end of the day, but everything is riding on this for Marty. He treats this like life or death, when for Endo, this is literally just an exhibition match where someone else's, priority is winning this because it means they finally have worth again or they have meaning in their life again. But Endo's like, this is one game. I still get to play in the World Championship later, and I'm not trying to get orange balls made, or I'm not trying to alter the game. I have a different paddle, but whatever it might be, And there's also the whole paddle thing as well. At the start of the film, when he loses at the World Championships, he's like, oh my God, well, he was using this paddle. Like, how is that fair? Doesn't have a single complaint about the other paddle when it comes to the end of the game because he won. He's one of those people that when he loses, there's a million reasons that he's lost, and there's all these excuses, and we need to change the game. It's unfair, blah, 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 all this stuff. But when he wins, no complaints because he won. And it's just, the orange ball is such an important, integral part of Marty's personality, especially when Dion, his friend, throws all the orange balls out of the window. That is sort of someone that has believed in Marty the entire time, has stood by his side, kind of just losing it with Marty and saying, I don't care anymore. I don't believe in you anymore. That is the dream literally being thrown out the window, or any good graces or any goodwill that Marty has being thrown out the window. Now, to shift gears a little bit, let's move from the balls to sperm, because the opening of this film is, of course, Rachel comes to the store where Marty's working, and then they, get a little bit entangled in the stock room, and that is when we see the conception of their baby. The opening credit sequence is following the sperm all the way on the inside and fermenting the egg. One of the craziest title sequences we've had. In Uncut Gems, we get the crazy colonoscopy shot or whatever, but in this film, we're literally following the sperm all the way to the egg, and it sneaks its little way in, and it's just a crazy title sequence. But I actually think the opening sperm shot, no pun intended, is a little bit of a metaphor for the hustler culture, that this one sperm is, a miracle in itself, and there's so many others, and especially in the context of the final song of the film, Everybody Wants to Rule the World. There's so many people that want greatness, they want ambition. There's millions of people fighting for it every single day, or every single time, sperm is ejaculated. I can't believe we're saying this. That's how crazy this movie is. But literally, the miracle of creating life, that is a hustle in itself. That is a grind. And the sperm is a hustler like Marty. The sperm even making it is a dream, just like Marty. Making it to the top, that was a dream he couldn't achieve at the end of the film. But the sperm itself and the child he has at the end of the film is a dream in itself and a miracle. And it's just very interesting to think about how such a goofy opening title sequence that many people, including myself, were laughing and sort of gasping at and being like, oh my God, and having audible reactions. It's almost like a Bond song or the Mission Impossible themes or whatever, where they open and they walk you through the movie. The actual title sequence here of the sperm is a thesis for the entire film of what a miracle it is and how many fail and how many actually succeed in our life and what it takes to get there. You have to be faster and quicker than the rest or whatever it is, It's just very interesting to think about. But okay, enough sperm talk. One of the craziest title sequences we've had. Now, Marty is not the only hustler in this film. I think it's really interesting how Uncut Gems and Good Time, the characters that we're following, are kind of the only hustlers or the only, whatever you want to call them, I don't know, grinders in the film, or people that are grinding and that are really trying to benefit off of others or take advantage of each other. Whereas Rachel, Marty's girlfriend in this film, is also a hustler, and I thought one of the best twists in this movie is that her black eye was fake because she wanted Marty to finally stand up to her boyfriend so she could have a reason to leave him, and Marty would actually care and finally pay attention to her. Because when we meet her earlier in the film and she is very clearly pregnant, Marty doesn't give a shit, completely ignores the fact that she's pregnant. She's like, aren't you gonna say anything? He doesn't say anything. He's like, congratulations, that baby's not mine. But then at the end, he starts to take ownership that the baby is yours, and we know know. There was a little bit of discussion the day this came out, like, oh, is the baby actually Marty's, and that's why he's crying at the end. I think it's very clear with the title sequence of the sperm literally fermenting the egg. This is Marty's baby, of course, but I really like the whole aspect that Rachel is in on all of these hustles and all of these schemes with Marty. Marty is not the only kind of trashy person here. Rachel, they're a little bit made for each other. And Marty's family situation is fascinating as well, because his mom tries to take advantage of him as well by faking illness or making up stories, and his uncle owes him the money at the start of the movie, but for the sake of his business is not paying Marty. I didn't want to talk about it in non-spoilers because there's a lot of complexity to Marty's character in that, yes, he appears to be a very trashy guy, he appears to be a very asshole type guy, or, a hustler or a douchebag that's taking advantage of everyone, and he is for the entire film. But I don't think it's all entirely his fault, rather. I think at the start of the film, he's very clearly owed money. He's owed, what, like $750? Today, that would be like $1,800 or something like that with inflation. Crazy amount of money. If I was owed $1,800, I would be pissed off. I would be going berserk over the amount of money that I'm owed. So I don't think Marty's actually in the wrong for tons of this movie. There are many moments where it's like, yeah, valid. He is owed a crazy amount of money. Other people are also taking advantage of him, whether it's his mother or his uncle or his family bringing in the police or his girlfriend that is faking a black eye to get to him. A lot of the hustling in this movie is just the hustler culture that everyone is growing up in because they are fighting. Now, let's talk about Kevin O'Leary and sort of his role in this film and the cultural elements. So I thought the spanking scene was genuinely one of the most impactful scenes in the movie, because for the first time, Marty is having to sort of be the baby of the situation or just eat his medicine because he so desperately wants something. And I think it's actually kind of the first downfall of Marty Mauser, the ping pong player. I think as soon as he started to give Rockwell, right? That's his name, Rockwell. As soon as he started to give him an inch or give him any leeway with him and let him take advantage of him, Marty Mauser, the great ping pong player, fell apart. If he was so good, eventually he could have got his money and maybe made it back. But I think the more leeway that he gave Kevin O'Leary's character, the less he, sort of was able to be ambitious, and Kevin O'Leary's character just took advantage of him. And the spanking scene is literally him getting on his knees, begging, and being fully taken advantage of. And then we have the vampire moment, which I think is the complete opposite of that, because when he is spanked by Kevin O'Leary's character, Milton Rockwell, he is still acknowledging that the dream could come after this. Like, versus at the end, when he says, look, I was born in 1601, I'm a vampire, I've known a million Marty Mausers in my day, and not one of them have lived up to what I've done or whatever. First of all, amazing line, reminded me of Blackberry, of course, with Glenn Howerton crashing out saying, where the vampires hang out, I'm from Waterloo or whatever. Great line, and I love so many people online being like, I'm taking that line seriously. I genuinely think Kevin O'Leary's character is a vampire. That's such a fun way to read this movie. I think in that scene, it's particularly interesting how Marty has finally come to terms with, the dream is over, I'm going to win this game, and then I think I'm going to let this ping pong thing go, because that's as far as it can go, and I need to acknowledge that this is the end of the line. And that's why instead of saying, something quippy or something sort of comebackish at Milton in that moment, he just kind of laughs and is like, wow, that's kind of a crazy burn, and then says, I'm going to go out and win this game or whatever, and he just throws in the towel for his career and says, you know what, I'm going to go out on a high. And that's why I love the final match so much, because it means the world to Marty, and this is the end of his ping pong career as we know it. He doesn't even tell him, I'm sleeping with your wife, and that could have been such a crazy comeback and get it over Milton. That would have ended his career anymore, maybe even would have got him killed. Kevin O'Leary's character plays such an important role in this film because of how he treats Marty as a Jewish man, as well as his friend, who is a Holocaust survivor and survived Auschwitz. So what it's interesting, because Milton's character is so, he's very complicated, because he does not like Jewish people. He sort of resents them and Holocaust survivors because his son died in World War II, and yet his son died in the Pacific, where Milton is now doing business, trying to fund table tennis events and stuff like that, and trying to commercialize it, where his son actually died, and he's happy to let the Japanese make him look like a clown or make America look like clowns when his son literally died there. And I think the presence of American soldiers in Japan at the event where Milton is hosting for Milton Inc. is so crucial, because it is like the Japanese, are kind of having the last laugh almost, or it's America's last gasp at greatness, you could say. The soldiers being there, they're trying to maintain this American power image when America's actually on the backslide a little bit, as well as Marty trying to have this last gasp at greatness, and yet it's actually the end of the road for him as well. So there's so many cultural things happening between Milton, Marty, all of his friends, friends, the Jewish diaspora within New York, as well as American soldiers being in Japan, and what that final game actually means. That, like, you know, Americans are parading around Japan after the war. It kind of means nothing, because at the end of the day, they're going to leave. Japan is going to go on the front foot and have this amazing economy or whatever it is. There's just so many fantastic cultural undercuttings. There's been a huge debate. Marty wins the big game against Endo. Endo literally does not give a shit. He congratulates Marty. Marty bursts into tears. This is the greatest moment of his life. Then he flies home, and I think Marty is finally coming to terms with what he has to face in his life. He realizes the ping pong dream is over. Marty only had one thing on his mind the entire movie: beat Endo, get my, status back, and say I beat the world champion, or I could have beat the world champion if I was still playing, but they didn't want me to play. One way or another, all he cared about was beating Endo, and nothing else mattered. Once it happened, then he could finally accept the life and path presented, unlike before. Because before, he was getting so many opportunities of people saying, no, you can work here, no, you can come do this with me, blah, 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 all these opportunities, or, oh, we believe in you, but you need to, do your time, or whatever it is. But he's so ambitious that he's just so driven on this path. And by the end of the film, everyone has started to say no to Marty and say, no, that's not a possibility. No, you've had your chance. It's done. And Marty thinks, oh, second chances. But all these second chances have come and gone, and he's blown it for most of the movie. So once it's all happened, he's beat Endo. I see him coming to the hospital, telling Rachel, I love you. He's finally there. He's ready to be a father. And when he sees his son, I think he is a little bit mourning at the end of one chapter and crying over the ping pong career being over. But then I see him seeing his son as kind of the product of all of his fuck ups, but also all of the greatness in his life. And wow, look at this thing that I've created. I've created this flesh and blood. And I want to read you what Josh Safdie actually said about the ending, because it's really gorgeous. He said, I believe the movie is a little bit about seeing your parents before you were born, like seeing pictures of them and thinking, what was going on there? What was their purpose? Well, I was their purpose. There's a lot of mystery in those photographs. You're very sculptable in youth. And when you have a child, I think a part of you hardens. It just does. There's now one person who for the rest of your life will have a strict point of view on you. That's the new dream. The beauty of people who manage to remain forever young is that they can stay sculptable in the context of parenthood and not compromise. I'm going to cry thinking about it, he said, when the subject of his own kids comes up. It's cosmic. So I think that's such a great way to read it. It's like, is the dream fully over for Marty? I don't know. Is he still going to be loosey-goosey, or is he going to put everything into being a dad? And it's just a really gorgeous ending to the film, and I'm really excited to see it again because I can sit within it in a much less ambiguous way. And I know for a fact, they've talked about this, Timothee Chalamet and Josh Safdie, that they filmed stuff in the future with a flash forward with Marty where he's playing ping pong in the 80s or whatever. He's a happy dad. He loves his son, and he is happy. And it's Timothee Chalamet aged up. So clearly there is a non-ambiguous ending to this film, but they chopped away the flash forward because it's just doing too much explaining maybe. But I actually really love the ending of this film. There's so much stuff that you can kind of dissect in this film. I mean, there's the honey scene with his friend who survived the Holocaust, how his friend was sent into these forests, and he's telling Kevin O'Leary the story, Milton's character, of, and Marty's like, oh, tell him the story. It's this amazing story. And Marty sells it as this hilarious tale when it's actually terrifying. And I think his friend's name is Merle. So Merle was sent into the forest to defuse bombs, and he once found a honey nest or a bee's nest or whatever, and he took all of the honey, he spread it across his body, and then he went back to the camps and into where the barracks, I guess you could say, where all the prisoners were kept, and he let the other prisoners lick his body with all of the honey. And it's such an amazing contrast. I want to read you this one Reddit comment that I saw because it's very fascinating. The scene with the guys licking honey off of that dude's hairy chest and back was such a what the fuck moment. And the more I think about it, the more it becomes the best scene in the movie, because so much of Marty Supreme is about Marty only giving a shit about himself and putting himself first. And here's this scene of someone in the most hellish conditions imaginable, putting aside his dignity and ego and using ingenuity solely to help and sustain others. That is not what Marty is doing this entire film. Everything he does is for the sake of himself, and he is parading around this other story from his friend being like, yeah, isn't that amazing? Or he has a really dark Holocaust joke that Hitler couldn't defeat me or something like that, is what Marty says, who was not in the camps, but he is saying that as a Jewish person in the 50s. And the honey scene, the Jewish identity, the Jewish diaspora, the Holocaust, the Pacific, all of this stuff is so integral to this film, and I'm so excited to sort of sit back and think about it even more, and especially the ending of Marty making it, holding his baby at the end of the film, bursting into tears. Such a gorgeous moment from Timothee Chalamet. I think I've talked about Marty Supreme long enough. I had an absolute blast with this, guys. I will talk about it next week, I want to say, in the What Else I Watched segment. Maybe I'll have some follow-up thoughts. I'll also no doubt talk about it in my top 5 favorite movies of 2025 video that I'll do for my YouTube channel. You can check it out there. That's been Marty Supreme for now. 4.5 out of 5 stars. Let's do What Else I Watched. Alrighty, the final What Else I Watched of 2025. That is kind of crazy to say out loud, and it's episode 100. This has been a wild whirlwind day, but I have 2 TV shows to talk about with you, and then 5 movies to talk about with you. I have a couple other movies I did watch just today, but I'm going to save them for next week's episode because, we got a lot to cover already. We've already chatted for a little bit about Marty Supreme. So, TV shows. The last 2 episodes of Pluribus. So we have episode 8, Charm Offensive, episode 9, La Chica o El Mundo. No spoilers. I'm going to try and keep it spoiler free. Also, I haven't watched Stranger Things yet. That's my goal this week. But Pluribus, I thought the season ended really well, and it brought everything together. Mainly the 3 I guess 3 characters, like the Hive Mind, Carol, and Manusos. We got, good resolution for all of them. And it was a very exciting finale. It didn't really wrap up everything and be like, okay, we got a clear resolution to the story. And then season 2, it's going to be something completely different. It's like, nope, the story is going to keep going. It's only going to get more intense, and it's a very necessary thing that we ended the season with. I thought episode 8 had me really worried that, is this going to end badly for our characters that we like? But it's just a great show, has wonderful color grading. Not everything is shot with a dolly or a shaky cam. There's so many cool still shots where our characters are moving within the frame instead of the camera constantly moving and following everyone around. I really loved it. I mean, Pluribus was just such a fun show. It's a good slow burn sci-fi show, from the creative Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. What is there to complain about? And then I watched a couple episodes of What Is There to Complain About? And then I just watched a couple episodes of The Batman season 3, episodes 4 and 5 while I was wrapping gifts last week. Pretty great, but let's talk about some movies. So I watched 5 movies over the break so far, starting with The Family Stone in 2005. My girlfriend and I watched this the night before we left for the holidays, and I thought it was pretty bad. I mean, everyone was raving about it, or everyone was more so talking about it after Diane Keaton passed away, and it was like, okay, this is another movie in her filmography that was a big deal, or at least it has a really popular cast. Like, I was shocked how many people I knew in the movie of like, oh, he's in this, oh, he's in this, oh, he's in this, oh, she's in this. Like, everybody was in this movie, including like, this is a very, it's the most 2005 cast ever. There's like Patrick Wilson, Dermot Mulroney, Sarah Jessica Parker, Luke Wilson, not Patrick Wilson. Did I say Patrick Wilson? Luke Wilson, Claire Danes, Rachel McAdams, Craig T. Nelson, Tyrone Giordano, Brian J. White. Pretty freaking wild how many recognizable 2005 celebrities are in one film, and I didn't love it. The humor was just not really there, but also it's such an oddly paced film. Like, we're sort of following along this story of like, oh, this mismatched couple that we don't really care about for half the movie, and then it shifts into like almost a sister swap or couple swap situation, and then all of a sudden Diane Keaton's character is dying. So I didn't care for it. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. It's not a Christmas movie I'll be watching again, but then my family and I, we watched a classic, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. We watch it every single year. My family, they love it so much. I like it a lot. It's not one of my favorite Christmas movies, but like my parents and my brother love it, so I'm always happy to watch it with them. I think the second half of the movie is hilarious. Up to then, I don't find it that entertaining. It's a lot of like slow burning, but once the like kidnapping and the actual Christmas Eve stuff begins, hilarious movie, despite Chevy Chase being an absolute asshole, and his hillbilly cousin is like the best part of the movie, as well as the rich sort of rude neighbors that they're constantly fighting with. Super funny. 3.5 stars. Then I showed my brother one battle after another. Well, actually, I started watching it while he was doing some cleaning on Christmas Eve, and then he walked into the room a few times and was just like so interested, and he absolutely loved it. Like, he enjoyed it so much. This was my 3rd time watching it, and I loved it even more. Honestly, I've loved it more and more every single time. I already pre-ordered the 4K that's going to arrive on like January 20th, and I'm going to watch it the day it arrives because it's such an enjoyable movie. Every scene is so powerful, meaningful. It's either hilarious, devastating, heartbreaking, so deep. All of these things, it just works so well. I gave it 5 stars. Absolutely 5 stars. If you haven't seen One Battle After Another yet, stop wasting your time. If you're in Canada, it's available on Crave, but it's so good. Check it out. Then another Christmas movie, we watched How the Grinch Stole Christmas from 2000, starring Jim Carrey. We watched it last year as well, and I think it might become like a really solid sort of rotation film. I usually watch it every year, but my family doesn't. But this year we watched it again, and it's just so goddamn funny. Like, Jim Carrey is operating at such a high level, and I love the story that he told recently that he actually almost quit the film, but then they hired a CIA torture expert that got him through the film, like whether it was smoking or distracting yourself with various things. Fascinating. But there's so many great jokes in the movie that fly over my head because there's just so much happening. I loved it. 4.5 stars. But the final movie that I watched this holiday season, Fargo from 1996. I threw it on because what were we talking about? I don't know, just at Christmas dinner or something. I think Fargo was brought up, and I was like, oh, that's on Amazon. We should watch it tomorrow. So literally in the morning, we woke up, threw on Fargo at like 9 a.m. My parents absolutely love Fargo. My mom particularly loves Fargo. I love it a lot. I've seen it a few times, and it's funny, but it's also a gorgeous movie about like greed and happy marriages that are living on a little bit less or don't have so much wealth. And then you have the like rich marriages where it's very one side and grabby, and one of the couple is struggling, and then the other one is clearly from a wealthy family that's not helping the couple fairly, or one person in the couple, you know, hasn't actually had to work totally in their life. So I don't know, there's just so much deep meaning to it. Also, Steve Buscemi is absolutely hilarious in it. Frances McDormand, amazing, like just such a good performance. It's a fantastic film. I gave it 4.5 stars. It's a good winter movie, so maybe I'll watch it again next Christmas. But for now, that has been what else I watched. And in fact, I think that's going to do it for episode 100, Marty Supreme. What a friggin' film. I am so excited to watch it again. But guys, 100 episodes in the can. I cannot believe 2 years ago, or a little less than 2 years ago, I decided, you know what? I'm going to do a movie, TV show, and entertainment podcast. I don't think anybody's going to listen to this, but I get messages every week, or I have people reaching out, whatever it is, being like, oh, hey, I saw that thing because you talked about it. Or, hey, have you seen this thing? You should watch it. I think you'd like it. And it's just been so much fun connecting, chatting, and talking to old people that I know that I haven't seen in forever from like high school or whatever, or just family members that are being like, oh, you do that thing, right? And it's also opened up amazing doors in my personal life that I couldn't be more thankful for. So this has been a great opportunity, and I've just loved it so much. I am not stopping anytime soon. Like Marty Supreme, maybe I'll be blinded with ambition that I want this thing to just keep going, and I'm having so much fun with it, and I love it. But as always, please rate and review the show, 5 stars wherever you get your great podcasts, whether it be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or Acast. We're of course an Acast produced show. If you're on Spotify, you can comment right underneath the episode. What's your 5 favorite movies this year? What'd you think of Marty Supreme? What's your favorite Christmas movie or holiday movie that you're watching over the break? All that good stuff. If you're on the YouTube channel, hit like, subscribe, comment all that stuff down below, and hit the notification bell so you know when new episodes or new YouTube videos come out. I'm going to have actually 2 videos in January, I think. I'm going to do my top 5 movies of 2025, and then I'm also going to do like a top 5 most anticipated, or just like the 2026 movie schedule and what I'm looking forward to. Maybe go month by month and just talk about the big movies that are coming out. It's going to be a lot of fun, so check out the YouTube channel. If you want to get in touch with the show, you can email us, watcherofallthings@gmail.com, and find me on social media. Instagram and Threads are at watcherofallthings, and then TikTok is at watcher.of.all.things. I post on social media every single day. I do tons of videos there that I don't actually talk about the subjects here or whatever it might be, but it's a lot of fun. Go check out the social media pages, all linked below, along with my personal Letterboxd account. That's KikiJ70, KIKIJ70. Follow me, comment under one of my reviews that you found me through the show, and I will follow you back. Let's build a little community. But next week, I am thinking Stranger Things Season 5. I'm kind of leaning towards that. Or we do a 2025 recap. I might do my 101 favorite movies of 2025. I don't know, something like that. Or just a 2025 recap, talking about sort of the highs and lows of the year, what I was surprised by, what I wasn't surprised by, what movies really lived up to expectations, what fell short, who knows. But as for now, thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all for the love that I get every week. 100 weeks of amazing interactions with you guys. It's been so much fun. Take care of yourselves. Happy New Year, and I will see you in the next one.